The UK's $10 billion Queen Elizabeth carrier is a fortress of 5th-generation stealth, carrying the F-35 fighter. But France's older, smaller carrier can launch one aircraft that makes all that stealth completely useless. This one plane gives the French carrier eyes that can see for hundreds of miles, an advantage the UK's carrier simply doesn't have. How can this be? And which philosophy really wins a modern naval battle? This is the story of Europe's carrier showdown. Two nations, two carriers, two completely opposite visions of naval power. On one side, France's Charles de Gaulle, 42,500 tons, nuclear-powered, armed with steam catapults and the deadly Rafale fighter. On the other, Britain's Queen Elizabeth, 80,600 tons, 50% larger, carrying up to 50 of the world's most advanced stealth fighters. Same mission, different weapons, different philosophies. One chose independence, the other chose scale. One bet on proven technology, the other bet on the future. But here's the twist. They cost almost the same to build. So which carrier would you want in a fight? The answer isn't what you think. But before we dive in, I have to ask. Data shows that over 99% of you watching right now aren't subscribed. If you enjoy this kind of deep dive naval analysis, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell. It's free. It takes 2 seconds. Okay, let's get into the analysis. Let's rewind to 1986. The Cold War is still raging. France has a problem. Its two aging carriers, Clemenceau and Foch, are nearing the end of their lives. France needs a replacement, but not just any carrier. President François Mitterrand orders a ship that will guarantee one thing: strategic independence. No reliance on foreign fuel, no limits on deployment, no compromises. The answer: nuclear power. On February 3rd, 1986, France orders a new carrier. They name her Richelieu, but a year later, a Gaullist prime minister renames her Charles de Gaulle. The vision is bold, maybe too bold, because what happens next is a construction nightmare. The keel is laid in April 1989. Then, funding runs out. Construction stops, then starts, then stops again, 4 times. 4 separate suspensions between 1990 and 1995. Engineers stand idle. Welders wait. The hull sits half-finished in the dry dock. France is bleeding money it doesn't have. But they push forward, because this isn't just a ship, it's a statement. May 7th, 1994. She's launched. The largest warship built in Western Europe since HMS Ark Royal in 1950. 2 nuclear reactors hum beneath her deck. Unlimited range, unlimited power. She can stay at sea for 20 years without refueling. But there's a problem. During her final sea trial in November 2000, her port propeller breaks. Clean off. The ship limps back to port at reduced speed. Embarrassment spreads through the French Navy. It takes months to manufacture replacement propellers. Finally, on May 18, 2001, 5 years behind schedule, Charles de Gaulle is commissioned. Cost €3 billion, and she's about to prove her worth. Now, jump across the English Channel. November 1997. Tony Blair's Labour government launches the Strategic Defence Review. The conclusion? Britain needs offensive air power. Lots of it. The aging Invincible-class carriers are too small, too weak. Britain decides to go big. Really big. The Queen Elizabeth class will be the largest warships ever built for the Royal Navy. Bigger than anything Britain has floated since World War II. In 2003, Thales Group wins the design competition. BAE Systems becomes the prime contractor. The vision is clear. 2 massive carriers, conventional propulsion, gas turbines and diesel engines, cheaper to build, faster to deploy. But here's where it gets interesting. In 2010, the Ministry of Defense announces a bold plan. Convert the second carrier, Prince of Wales, to CATOBAR. Catapults and arrestor wires, the same system the Americans use. Why? Because it would allow Britain to operate the F-35C, the carrier variant with longer range and heavier weapons. But then, the bill comes in, £2 billion, just for the conversion. The government blinks. May 10, 2012. The plan is scrapped. Britain reverts to the original design STOVL, short takeoff, vertical landing. The F-35B, the jump jet. No catapults, no arrestor wires, just a ski jump ramp at the bow. It's cheaper, it's simpler, but it comes with a cost. July 4th, 2014. Queen Elizabeth is named by who else? Queen Elizabeth II herself. She's floated out 13 days later. December 7th, 2017. She's commissioned. At 80,600 tons, she dwarfs the French carrier. She can carry up to 50 F-35B stealth fighters in wartime. Her sortie rate, up to 110 aircraft launches per day. That's double what the French can do. She's a beast, but she has one Achilles heel, and it's about to become very, very important. So here we are, 2 European superpowers, 2 carriers, 2 philosophies. Let's break it down. Size. The Queen Elizabeth is a giant, 80,600 tons, almost twice the size of Charles de Gaulle. She's a floating city, more aircraft, more sorties, more firepower, speed. On paper, both do about 25 knots, but Queen Elizabeth has been tested at 32 knots. She's fast, really fast. Aircraft. France flies the Rafale M, a fourth-generation multi-role fighter, deadly, proven in combat. Britain flies the F-35B Lightning II, a fifth-generation stealth fighter, invisible to radar, cutting-edge sensors, network-connected warfare. In a dogfight, the F-35 wins, hands down. Sortie rate. This is where Britain dominates, 110 sorties per day with 36 aircraft. France, maybe 50 to 55. That's double the firepower, double the tempo. But here's the problem. All that stealth, all those sorties, all that speed. It doesn't matter if you can't see the enemy coming. And that's where France has the edge. Because Charles de Gaulle carries something Queen Elizabeth doesn't. The E-2C Hawkeye. A fixed-wing airborne early warning aircraft. It's got a massive radar dome on top. It can see 300 miles in every direction. It can track hundreds of targets simultaneously. It's the eye in the sky. And Britain uses helicopters. The Merlin HM2 with crow's nest radar. It's good, but it's not the Hawkeye. Helicopters fly lower, slower. Their radar range is shorter. In a naval battle, the side that sees first wins first, and France sees first. Here's the kicker. Charles de Gaulle is the only non-American carrier in the world that can launch and recover U.S. Navy aircraft. FA-18 Super Hornets, C-2 Greyhounds. That's because of those steam catapults. Britain's ski jump? It can't do that. The F-35B is incredible, but it's designed for vertical landings, not catapult launches. So France has flexibility, interoperability, and the Hawkeye. Britain has stealth, scale, and speed. Which one wins? It depends on the mission. Now let's talk war, because this isn't just theory. These carriers have been tested. November 21st, 2001. Charles de Gaulle sails into the Indian Ocean. Mission: Operation Enduring Freedom, Afghanistan. Her Rafales fly reconnaissance, bombing runs, combat air patrols. France deploys nearly 1/4 of its entire navy to support this mission. Tensions flare between India and Pakistan. French Rafales launch from Charles de Gaulle and fly combat patrols alongside the U.S. Navy. Libya, UN Security Council Resolution 1973, no-fly zone. Charles de Gaulle flies 1,350 sorties during Operation Unified Protector. The Persian Gulf, Operation Shamal. France enters the fight against the Islamic State. Her aircraft rain hell on ISIS positions in Iraq and Syria. And here's the jaw-dropper. In 2015, a French admiral aboard Charles de Gaulle takes command of U.S. Naval Forces Central Command's Task Force 50. The first time in history, a non-American has commanded a U.S. carrier strike group. That's respect. That's interoperability. COVID-19 hits hard. 1,081 crew members test positive. Nearly 60% of the entire ship. The carrier is forced back to port. A painful reminder. Even the mightiest warship is vulnerable to invisible enemies. Now, what about Britain? Queen Elizabeth was commissioned in December 2017. She didn't achieve initial operational capability until January 2021. That's recent. Very recent. She's been on deployment. She's trained with NATO allies. In 2021, she sailed the Mediterranean alongside Charles de Gaulle, a powerful symbol. Two European powers, side by side. But combat, real war, she hasn't been tested yet, not like the French. And in August 2022, her sister ship, Prince of Wales, suffers a catastrophic failure. The starboard propeller shaft coupling breaks just days after leaving Portsmouth. She limps back to port, 9 months of repairs. It's a brutal reminder. Even the newest, most advanced ships can fail. So here's the truth. There is no clear winner. Because these carriers were never built to fight each other. They were built to defend their nations, to project power, to stand as symbols of strength. France chose independence, nuclear power, steam catapults, the Hawkeye. They wanted a carrier that could operate anywhere, anytime, without asking permission, and they got it. Britain chose scale, stealth, the F-35B. They wanted a carrier that could overwhelm the enemy with sheer firepower and cutting-edge technology, and they got it. Charles de Gaulle is a scalpel, precise, flexible, proven. Queen Elizabeth is a sledgehammer, massive, modern, dominant. In 2025, France is already planning the next generation. Pang, the new generation aircraft carrier, 75,000 tons, even bigger, even more capable. Britain is exploring catapult upgrades for drones and future unmanned combat aircraft. The race isn't over, it's just beginning. But here's what matters. Europe still has two nations willing to invest billions in naval power. Two nations that understand the ocean is where empires are defended. Two nations that refuse to be left behind in the 21st century. Because in the end, carriers aren't just about steel and aircraft. They're about will, about vision, about refusing to let the world decide your fate. France and Britain may argue over design, over philosophy, over cost, but they agree on one thing. The future belongs to those who control the seas. And Europe, despite its challenges, still has the courage to sail into that future. That's not just naval power, that's national pride. If you want to see more deep dives into the world's most powerful military technology, hit that subscribe button. And let us know in the comments, which carrier would you choose for modern warfare? The French Scalpel or the British Sledgehammer?